You know, I've determined there is an inherent problem with most of these top lists, especially this time of year. You see pretty much everybody making one. The problem comes when you realize that they're pretty much all troll bait. Well, I've come up with the perfect solution. This is my top 17 list of games that I want to talk about. This is purely a list of games that at this very moment I feel like speaking words for, about, on. Not necessarily games I want to review, although I wouldn't be against it. No, this is just a bunch of games. Starting with number 17, The Sims. The original one. And you know why I want to talk about it? Because it's an awesome game, and I have not played it in like 7 years. Seriously, it's been a long time since I've played this game, and it was fun, especially with Hot Date. Just being able to actually take your sim out on the town and do different things other than being cramped in your own home was awesome. Number 16, Zargon. This is pretty much Jill of the Jungle in a different sort of fantasy environment and with a dude instead of a hot chick. And I think it's pretty much fantastic. Number 15, Super Solvers Spellbound. There were approximately 800 Super Solvers games. They're all these edutainment titles for spelling and math. And then there was Gizmos and Gadgets, which is another one of my favorites. But Spellbound, this was the one that introduced me to the entire series, and it was freaking sweet. The gameplay was awesome, the graphics were sweet, and there were word games, which are still enjoyable to me. Number 14, Garfield Caught in the Act, also known as Garfield in TV Land or something like that on the PC. This is pretty much the only Garfield game that I've ever played that's actually any good. Not to say it's great, it's pretty much a standard platformer with really annoying enemy AI and collision detection. But I'm perfectly okay with that, because I had a lot of fun with this game. I rented it back in the day from Farmore for the Sega Genesis, and it was Garfield. Garfield's awesome and lazy, and I can appreciate that. Number 13, Sid Meier's Civilization 2. So Civilization's a pretty awesome game. This one's better, as far as I'm concerned. There you go. Number 12, Moto Racer. You know, there is just something about bikes that go very fast that makes a young adolescent male's testosterone flow like a river. And this game got mine flowing in wonderful, wonderful ways. Nothing like doing a wheelie to speed up constantly. What a ridiculous game. Just pure fun. Number 11, Midtown Madness. When I first played this game, it was fairly mind-blowing. I hadn't really played anything like it before. It was a realistically styled open-world racing game, and you could do all sorts of crazy stuff all over Chicago. You could follow the traffic laws, or you could just be a complete maniac. It's still fun. The sequels were pretty sweet too, but this original one, I don't know, there's just something about Chicago. Number 10, Deadly Tide. Another Microsoft game that was just amazing. When I saw it, I thought graphics would never get any better than this. I was thankfully very wrong, but whatever the case, this was just, what in the world, man, were they doing? It was full motion video, but you could completely control what was going on, the perspective, where you were moving during the video. It was just beyond anything that I had ever seen before, and that quickly faded. But it was cool. Number 9, that Rings game. If you ever played this game as a kid, you know that this is probably the most challenging thing you'll ever come across. The whole idea is to put a bunch of water in this tank and then press these little buttons which shoots up air bubbles into the water. And you try to get the rings on the little things. Pretty much impossible. Number 8, Hunter Hunted. To tell you the truth, I haven't played this game very much, but what I do remember is that the aesthetic was just awesome. There was something about this environment and the enemies and the guy, you know, the whole lonesome feeling going on that was really different. Not exactly the best game ever from what I remember, but it was cool, and I want to talk about it. So I am, and I continue to, and now I'm done with it. Number 7, Urban Chaos. Oh man, open world games. This was the one that really opened my mind to the possibilities. This was the first one that I had ever played that you could actually go around and just beat up pedestrians or just whatever you wanted to do in this 3D world. Very much a precursor to the whole GTA 3 kind of thing that was done some years later. I never got the full game, I just played the demo disc I got with a magazine. Number 6, Hover. Now, this game came on the Windows 95 Companion CD, or whatever that thing was called. It came with so many computers back in the day. It's a pretty straightforward capture the flag game with hovercrafts and sweet music and sound and stuff. But there were no demons, just hovercrafts and flags, so yeah, whatever. No Nazis either, but that's beside the point. Now it's time for number 5, which is the LCD baseball game that I played as a kid. Tiger Electronic Baseball. Man, this game saved my neck as a kid on numerous occasions. If my neck were dying of boredom, I guess. And, it was just something you would whip out whenever you had the chance. Okay, what am I talking about? Oh, yeah, baseball, right. Fairly simplistic. You pretty much just hit the ball and go around and don't do much else other than that. But you didn't need to. You didn't have a Game Boy. You didn't have a Game Gear. You grabbed one of these. Number 4, Hellbender. I guess I have Microsoft on the mind because this is another one of those Microsoft games for Windows. Sort of a follow-up to Terminal Velocity and that other game that was in the series that I can't remember right now, but who cares? This was another one of those 3D shooter. You'd fly around, shoot stuff, things happened. It was awesome. Also awesome, holy crap, was number 3, The Neverhood. I want a copy of this game so badly, but it's extremely expensive. And the reason for that is because it's incredibly unique and it's just got a legendary sort of cult following status thing going on. It's all in claymation, and it's just an awesome adventure. Extremely memorable characters, very cool environments, just wow, what a classy game. Next up at number 2, we have Spectre VR. This is pretty much Battlezone with more purple. One of those Macintosh games that I loved playing whenever I found a computer with it on it. I didn't have a Macintosh, but when I found one, it was pretty much SimAnt, Putt Putt Goes to the Moon, and Spectre VR. Spectre. And finally, number 1, Earth Siege 2. Why Earth Siege 2? Why not Star Siege or Earth Siege 1 or any of the others? Well, because it's Earth Siege 2. Do you hear this music? Good grief, man, you're just saving the planet or something with that music. You hear that? That's awesome. I mean, how much more radical do you get than piloting a giant robot around with frickin' lasers? I don't know, man, because that's the number 1 game I wanted to talk about, and I've talked about it. Alright, since you guys were kind enough to actually get through all of the first part of this video, I'm done kind of trolling you now, and now I'm going to actually talk about some stuff that is a little more listy-like, and that is my personal list of top 17 games of 2011. Straightforward enough, these are just chosen because of how much I enjoyed them. That's completely arbitrary, personal, and subjective. So, I wouldn't mind hearing your favorites, but screw you if you say I'm forgetting something, because I'm not. This is the games that I enjoyed. Limited to 17 for whatever reason. Starting with number 17 is Assassin's Creed Revelations. It's not bad. It's certainly not great, but not bad. I mean, I play these games for the story and the sweet assassinating, and this one has both. But seriously, this has rushed cash-in written all over it, and it pales in comparison to its predecessors, which is why it's last on my list. Number 16, Duke Nukem Forever. Speaking of disappointment, DNF was doomed to be a disappointment no matter what. There was just no way this game was going to live up to 14 years of hype. However, I had a lot of fun for what it was, and that was a game that should have come out many, many years ago on probably the previous console generation, and at a lower price point. A lower price point would have helped too. And number 15, Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm not much of an MMO guy, but when a game like this comes along, I become one, sort of. This is a BioWare game to its core, and it's pretty awesomely in-depth with its story and RPG stuff. But even though it's freaking Star Wars, it just hasn't grabbed me as much as, say, Lord of the Rings Online did. It's freaking fantastic, and it's got a lot of great stuff to enjoy, but I just don't think I'll be paying for a subscription for months on end. Number 14, Mortal Kombat. This is freaking Mortal Kombat how it should be. Crazy characters and special moves and fatalities and 2D gameplay. You can call me insane, but I thought the story was actually pretty enjoyable too. It's just an awesome return to form for the series. Number 13, Cities XL 2012. Even though it's basically just an expansion to Cities XL 2011, 2012 is the best city simulator I've played since SimCity 4. It doesn't reach that game's greatness, but it's got lots of urban planning sweetness to enjoy. I just wish it didn't bog down your system so much and have some of the problems with, well, the weird little problems it has with urban planning. Otherwise, this would be higher on the list. Number 12, Alice: Madness Returns. It's the sequel to the original American McGee's Alice, and Madness Returns is a solid action platformer with amazing environments and that bizarre American McGee touch. It is not going to blow you away with innovation because it's pretty straightforward, but its otherworldly atmosphere remains one of the most vivid gaming memories I have from 2011. Number next, Serious Sam 3. It's a crime that this game hasn't been getting more attention, but alas, poor Serious Sam seems to be doomed to an underground audience. I guess it's not too surprising considering it's probably the most arcadey FPS you can think of. I mean, it really puts itself into its own little corner. But it's a freaking blast to play if you like that kind of thing, and it looks incredible. Seriously, grab this one and thank me later. Number 10, Minecraft. Yes, this released this year and not 2009. The public alpha versions have been around since then, sure, but it only officially released in November of 2011. That's why it's on the list, and it's also why I haven't placed it higher on my list. It's an incredibly engrossing experience for those with any kind of imagination and a love of creating things and Legos, but I played the crap out of this last year. It would have been much higher on my list if it came out last year, and this year the charm has started to finally wear off. Number 9, Terraria. This one really took me by surprise. I'd heard it was just a 2D Minecraft clone, but thankfully it's a whole lot more than that. Sure, you've got mining and crafting, but there are lots of adventure and RPG-like elements thrown in that really give it a sense of progression that Minecraft lacks. It's strangely addicting too, so make sure you set aside a full day or so before playing it, or else you may end up like me and realize it's tomorrow before you realize it's not today. Number 8, L.A. Noire. What a classy game. Serious, just pure class. It's an adventure mystery game set in Los Angeles in the 1940s, but with that good old Rockstar touch. Sure, it's got some flaws that really set it back, and there's some room for improvement, but I thoroughly enjoyed most of the story and look forward to whatever comes next in the series. Number 7, Crysis 2. Lots of people bashed this game for being watered down or consoleized compared to its predecessor, but you know what? It was one of the most enjoyable single-player first-person experiences I had in 2011. It's much more of a linear game to be sure, but you can argue that it's much more focused, and it actually allows for more intense action and higher stakes with the whole gameplay. And the PC version with the DirectX add-on looks freaking amazing, so if you're a graphics whore, this one is definitely one to grab. Number 6, Saints Row the Third. Well, what can I say? It's Saints Row for the third time, and the insanity has been increased once again. Although I really didn't enjoy the story or most of the characters as much as I did in Saints Row 2, the other additions included in the third make it an experience I'm glad I didn't miss. And it's gonna sound sappy, but whatever. This made me remember why I started playing games in the first place, because they can be stupidly fun. And this is stupidly fun. Number 5, Driver San Francisco. This is yet another one of the biggest surprises of the year for me. I loved the original Driver game, but wasn't a big fan of the sequels, so I had little to no hope for this one. But I took a chance and played it, and holy crap, this is easily the most fun I've had with a racing game in years. Racers have taken themselves too seriously for too long now, but this one says, screw the rules, let's have fun with awesome cars and completely over-the-top story. Number 4, Battlefield 3. Usually, I buy a game for the single player, and if it has good multiplayer, then whoop-de-doo. But this is the first time since Unreal Tournament that I've bought a game for the multiplayer and didn't touch the single player hardly at all. Do you want massive fields to battle on of the third variety? This is your game. It could definitely stand for a user interface overhaul, but other than that, I love this game. Nothing else has released more adrenaline into my bloodstream this year. Number 3, Deus Ex: Human Revolution. Once again, this is one that I was prepared to dislike, but ended up loving, and that is the third game in the Deus Ex franchise. As far as I'm concerned, this is Cyberpunk done right. The atmosphere, the story, the characters, the overtone of everything, and then to top it off with fantastic stealth gameplay and solid shooting and enjoyable exploration? Yes, please can I have some more? This game deserves your time, whether you're a fan of the original Deus Ex or not. Number 2, Portal 2. I find it hard to think of anything wrong with this game. Seriously. Valve have done such a good job with this game that I think it even surpasses the original in most respects, and that was one of my favorite games of the past decade. Great puzzles, amazing atmosphere, extremely memorable characters, superb dialogue, and an incredible ending. Not to mention a ridiculously enjoyable co-op campaign with free DLC. This was my game of the year, all year, at least until number 1, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Now this is ending up on everybody's list, but why? Why is this my game of the year when it's buggy, has a crappy UI, and has some very questionable game mechanics? Because while I can nitpick about this game all day long, the fact of the matter is that I have never played a first-person RPG with such a rich, diverse, and beautiful world to explore. And to me, that counts for a lot, as long as the level of immersion is a lot greater than the level of non-immersion, then I'm cool with it. Not to mention that there's a crazy amount of interesting quests and stories to take part in that I genuinely cared to see through to their conclusion. And then you've got the modding community on PC, which have already taken the game to new heights, and the official creation kit hasn't even come out yet. I've put about 140 hours into it so far, and for as many games as I play, that's a lot. There's just no question in my mind what my game of the year is. Skyrim earns that title completely, and it can wear it with pride. And I am done talking about the games that I want to talk about. I'm probably done with lists for a while, because lists, man, what's the point? Arbitrary collecting of games, assigning them numbers. Why? But what I'm not done with is reviews. Let's see, what's coming up next? There's a Sims 3 review that's coming. Of course, it's that time of the year. And there's also a hardware review or two in the works, so stay tuned for that. And lots of other games of all varieties. Not to mention the I'll Play Anything series, starting up here soon, and Oddware, and all that other good LGR stuff. So stay tuned if you're still here. If not, well then, I guess I'm not talking to you, am I? Maybe I am. Maybe you're still hearing me, and you're not actually here. In that case, I apologize. I did not mean to speak directly into your brain. For those of you that are actually listening, see you later. Enjoy life.